What's happening, guys, and welcome back to the channel and a brand new video on Marvel Contest of Champions. Now, I've been away this weekend and I didn't cover a lot of the kind of backlash and the kind of negativity and mild excitement that came with the announcement of the 6 stars being put into the game. A particular forum post that I wanted has actually been taken down, which is a bit disappointing, as I would like to have covered kind of aspects from that. But instead, I decided to make a video which is going to be about positives and negatives with regards to the addition of 6 stars. This is really for the people that really have no idea about what's going on with regards to 6 stars and implications, as well. It's a video for those people that want to get off their chest their feelings of negativity that they might have towards the game's developer about the addition of 6 stars. So what I did was I reached out to the community over my Twitter account and asked, you know, what are your pros and cons with regards to the 6 stars being put in? And the feedback was great. Unfortunately, we received a lot of cons than we did pros, but we'll just kind of go into great detail about why we had so many cons to pros. And I'd like to thank all those people that participated in information for the purpose of this video. So without further ado, let's get into the video and start with our first con. Obviously start off on a negative point. Let's build some positive. Backwards implementation on tiering system. What the hell do I mean by this? Well, in a previous video, I discussed that most other games have a kind of idea of what they're doing with regards to start point. You know, we've got 1 stars, now we've got 5 stars in the game. In other games, depending on the way that they're structured, Command in comparison could be looked to sort of making it up as they go along, but I think they're trying to find themselves. Which, if you compare it over to games like, I don't know, War Wings, with Marvel Future Fight, with War Gaming's kind of structure with regards to they present themselves at tier 1 to tier 10, and other games that kind of do a similar tiering system, they know what they're going to do and keep it in place and have done for several years, and it works for them. There has been times where a lot of games discuss about going further than tier 10 and going further on than that, but largely they don't seem to do that because they're really happy with the structure. The disappointing side of things is you'd expect a game company of this caliber to kind of really know what they were doing with regards to structuring it, and dare I say, are we going to get into like 10-star territory at a later date? It is very hard to tell, but never say never. Let's kick off with our first pro, and is new end game champs for new content. So obviously, as content gets newer, and you know, we see releases like, I don't know, once every 4 months. Act 5, obviously, maybe we'll see like an act a year, and that could mean that, yeah, so we need these new higher kind of skilled and different champions than normal to kind of see us through. In some ways that can be seen as a positive, but yeah, you could then put that on the flip side with regards to the con and just say that, well, are you structured for this? Do you know what you're doing? Who knows? Another con now, and depreciation of 5 stars whales being punished. This is pretty important to mention because a lot of people will feel this, and people did in the forum post about 6 stars. People felt that because they had invested time and money into the game, especially money into the game, that purchasing 5 stars or 5-star deals close to like £99 mark, or the $100 mark, or €100 mark, that expense just basically means that those 5 stars with regards to their worth depreciates over time based on 6 stars being added into the game. It's like saying that if I buy a car in 2015, if I then say that that car is bought at about £10,000, and then it comes to 2 years later that I then go to sell it and say, yes, that's my car there, it's worth £10,000, and the person goes, no, it's not as powerful as it used to be, it's not as good as it used to be, it's not reliable as it used to be, it doesn't come with these added extras that I would appreciate from a more modern car for the price of £10,000. And then you go, right, well, what do I sell it for? And it's then worth a lot less. That's really the kind of thing with regards to depreciation. It kind of isn't worth as much over time based on the fact that better things come on the market, especially in that price range. And this basically means in game that, you know, these whales that put money in, you know, I've put money in before, their 5 stars aren't worth as much because 6 stars are theoretically going to be better than 5 stars. So it's like, killer for the whales. Another pro. It will mean that harder content like Labyrinth of Legends, Act 5, etc. will be easier. Yeah, that's going to be absolutely great because you can get into stuff like Realm of Legends, you can grind through like without a cinch, and use my Captain Marvel at 5 starts rank 4 and it's got a good amount of signatures on her. She just kind of demolishes through most of the competition, especially if I've got suicides on. You know, that's going to be great for that because I can really grind some resource. You know, Labyrinth of Legends is brilliant, and it's like that could be a really good way of getting 5 stars. And obviously, if I'm able to then duplicate, and we'll talk about duplications and 6-star shards in a minute, but that's another way. You know, if I choose to do that later on in the year, close to the end of the year, it does mean I'll get those 5 stars. Featured 5 stars, depending on what I spend it on, a lot more easier than that. But yeah, getting through difficult content that's a bit of a ball ache, yeah, definitely well up for that, especially with regards to like the healing aspect to it, and kind of regaining back health with regards to the micro abilities. That's quite cool. Another con: current 5-star prems equal less chance of dupe. Yeah, okay, so what I mean by this is the extent of current roster additions to the pool of 5 stars, the 5-star prem. Okay, so you've got less chance to duplicate. The more, and like Kabam obviously have done some kind of strategy with this, where they've been like, do you know what, we're going to start adding in more 5 stars. Oh yes, well what does that theoretically mean? Well, I'm less likely to dupe my 5 stars, therefore I'm less likely to get 6-star shards, which you kind of see where the kind of problems lie with people, because they're going to be like, oh yeah, so I've got 5 to spin out, I have a limited 5-star roster, what are the chances of me getting some major dupes? And the chances are very slim to nil. You know, you're not going to be getting them. It's going to mean that your 6-star shard accumulation is going to be a little bit slower than normal, which is disappointing, but I think that's the way they're kind of structured by Kabam. So it's a slower process to get those 6 stars, even regardless of how high you're up in the end game content, kind of the nosebleed section of your time in Marvel Contest of Champions. You know, you're going to be less likely to get those 6-star shards. Our next pro: 6 stars will be unique with regards to micro abilities. Obviously, as we've discussed earlier, the micro abilities allow you to kind of gain back some health if you're losing it, which again is great for end game content. It then means that you're not so tied to certain champions, which means that people's usage of that, you know, they'll be able to use so many different champions. Like imagine, you know, 5-star Joe Fixit going up against Realm of Legends stuff, because he can heal a little bit of health back at a time. Obviously, we haven't been given so much details about how this kind of like health back to yourself will work, how much health will go back. It's just really like the ability of magic, as we've discussed in previous videos, but the extent of health, you know, will it be less going to certain champions that have got regeneration in the ability? You know, we really don't know. This is very kind of early stage, but it is exciting to see something different. The same thing with regards to the L3 being a kind of a unique mini game, as it were. But you kind of think, well, wouldn't that be an extra to? Would that be the same as 5 stars? Would you be able to increase the amount of attack, or the amount of damage done by the L3 still on 6 stars, or will it just be something completely different? How it will work will really be quite intriguing. Will it even be an extra button? Another con now: Act 5 rewards don't rise in accordance with new edition of 6 stars. And what the hell am I talking about? Well, Act 5 rewards, as we know, aren't as good as they've been kind of hyped to be. 5.1 was average, 5.2 was not as good, and as the kind of the content gets more difficult, you kind of would go like, right, well, now that Kabam have said we're going to get 6 stars, wouldn't we increase the amount of stuff like a generic 5-star awakening gem? Would there be more chance of getting an incredible amount of 5-star shards? You know, these are the things that they need to then build in line. So we're working with parallel with the new champions being added in, the new star rating, the extent of what this difficult content is meant to kind of have will go alongside. I just don't think that they've really thought about that, and they should really do a lot of work to then increase those Act 5 rewards in order to kind of benefit those 5 stars that we currently have. You know, if you just got these people that have got 550s, 4 stars, and they've had to kind of really push themselves through Act 5 Chapter 2 and go like, well, why haven't we got better stuff? Why haven't we got that platform to get a lot higher? And that is something they definitely need to work on. Another pro now, vision for the future. I don't mean the vision or Vision Age of Ultron. I mean just an idea of what they're doing. And obviously, as we've discussed, there are a few cons with regards to that. They kind of, you know, completely obliterate the tiering system in most common games. But with regards to like understanding where they're going, they obviously have some idea up until 2020. They've set out in numerous kind of events that they know where they're going up until 2020, especially in line with stuff that's happening within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is great. Obviously, a lot of stuff they do with regards to comic books and things like Secret Empire was something that's quite cool. I just really wish they would do a bit more with that. The other kind of aspect of Vision is that they really need to kind of keep us in the loop. You know, will they kind of add in 7 stars, 8 stars, 9 stars, 10 stars? And at that point, is that then when the game will either know what it's doing and just kind of tick along for another 5 years plus? It's really hard to tell. Like I said in the start of the video, there's a different implementation of a tiering system in other games where they've been doing the same thing and they've been running for well over 10 years successfully. And this game has the potential to do that. There's lots of things where they could get the PvP, like a proper PvP thing sorted, where you're actually playing against another person, similar to other kind of multiplayer games. But will they ever go to that kind of extent? I hope they will, because then it would add a new depth and element to that. And maybe even having some kind of thing where you can have multiple people fighting at the same time, or doing there's lots of stuff that they could really do that wouldn't encroach too much on other games like Marvel Future Fight or Marvel Heroes, but still be completely unique and add real depth and element to the game. And I hope that just, you know, 6 stars are just kind of the start of something that they have better ideas in the future. Another con now. Negative response from players it was targeted at. So, in the forum, a lot of people that are endgame players, people that have been playing the game for a long time, that invest a lot of time, money, effort, all that stuff, they did say that they were not impressed too much with 6 stars being put in, based on a lot of the kind of cons above here, that and more so. And kind of said that this would be it for them. They would be looking to leave the game. And a lot of people have said to me that, you know, or a lot of people said the same thing about 5 stars being added into the game. And it is a very, very difficult one to judge. A lot of these people, will they definitely go, right, that's it, I've had enough, I'm leaving. And also, like, a further con to this is like, well, the communication, and we'll talk about communication in a minute in any case, but you know, if it is aimed at a certain kind of group, you really have to try and find out from your stakeholders, because obviously these people are stakeholders within the game. They play it a lot more than, say, the common person, even myself. They'll be the best people to kind of road test and ask. And it has been kind of noted that there are images of 6 stars within Marvel Contest of Champions at the start point, when they were doing some kind of thing like, you know, well, this is that they were showing people what the game does. There are imagery, and Frojo34 found like an image of a 6 star. So it's a case that it has always been an idea within Kabam to release 6 stars. But I think a lot of these people will find that they want a little bit more kind of communication, or further communication. Like, what are your thoughts on this? How would this play out? And I know that there has been beta tests of the game, but then shipping it to the people that play it the most, or kind of getting a kind of response from these people, would have been a lot better than just going, oh, you know, we're doing this, and then going, well, I'm not too sure about this. So hopefully there is some sort of positive to these end game players, and they don't want to totally quit. But I do understand that there's, you know, elements of these cons above, and the cons we're going to discuss further, that would really kind of push them off the game in future. Another pro now. So better communications. Obviously, yeah, we have kind of like really kicked communications in the ass with regards to Kabam, and it is still questionable with regards to their communication to stakeholders, people who play the game, and their kind of thought process on this, because it's just does. Yes, okay. So we got the positives are we got an advanced warning on this, only by 4 months. But still, it's a better warning case. It's not exactly what people with regards would like. They would like more of a communication based on this. But you know, we were potentially going to get that gearing system, which would have been incredibly bad, and that didn't seem to have any communication. And it does seem that what Kabam should really do is improve again their communication, even though it has been a little bit better, but maybe kind of improve it more and just say, look, these are the future ideas, what do you think of them that we have? And maybe not give too much away, but some away, and kind of go like, what is your thoughts with regards to an event that's on this character? What do you think about doing a special challenge mode like this? What's your thoughts on this? And just let people just do in a poll feedback, like, yes, I'd like this, no, I wouldn't like this, and then it's just like, look, the people have voted, and they voted like this, so don't shoot the messenger. If you wanted to make a difference, you had to vote, and you didn't vote, so therefore this is what's happening, because everyone in the community wanted it, and that really would have been a better way. But apart from that, yes, we're getting there with regards to communications. Better communications really should have been put, or communication in general should have been put in, you know, I could put in the center really with regards to that. But I'll just give them their credit; they're doing something better than they've doing. So that's why it says better communications, not amazing communications, but they have improved their communications. Another con: the grind scale will be a longer process. Yes, from the start point to end point, or the current, as we know, end point. Obviously, if you're seeing this video in about 3 years' time, it might be completely irrelevant, and we may have 9 stars within the game, and there's maybe another pros and cons video for the various different stars being added into the game in the future. Really, we've got a big gap, and we'll continue to kind of widen that gap as we go on. It is disappointing to see such a gap between the start point and the end point, but I guess that's the whole thing about progression. It's like when people come into the game, and we're talking about this kind of tiering system, when you eventually come into the game, which will be either 2019, you may find that the game has a lot more structure to it with regards to the start point and potentially the end point. We just need to find out what kind of end point that we'll eventually get, because obviously we seem to be in a constant state of improvement and flux. But the general grind is there's going to be more need for arena grind, and I am hoping that that does put in another 5-star arenas, so you're in tier 5 basic arenas, or things that are going to be more helpful and applicable. You know, the tier 4 class catalyst should be an achievable 1.1 mil each time to kind of grind and get with regards to the clash arena for that. So hopefully there's kind of improvements there. But with regards to the grind scale, it will require a more harder grind, which is disappointing. Will require a lot more. It's like, I don't want to go back to those days when I was playing 10 hours a day, and that was just that did kill me. Like, that felt quite bad. And especially that having to kind of give up a good chunk of your weekend because you want to get something within the arena. That's something, again, that the grind scale from start to finish, and the requirement for better champions, or champions that have been, you know, we as MCC YouTubers as well as people within the game go, hey, this champion is a good champion and here's why, and everyone goes for them. That then puts them on this kind of pedestal, and because we put things on pedestals, they either have a kind of a positive and a negative. The positive is they tell Kabam, hey, you've done a good job. Negative is they use that to then go, right, well, maybe we should do something here, or change something, or maybe decide that that particular champion will not be put into a certain crystal until this time. Or, you know, there's loads of kind of like nerfs and things like that. So positives and negatives with that one. Right, so this is our final pro, and it's more to do with the developers than anything, and a pro to them and you know and the whales, because obviously they're important as well, and is that they've got something to spend on in the game. It's not something that I kind of go, hey, this really is an amazing thing, but it is good for those who have expendable income and want to spend money on a game like this. And people will say like this would be quite disrespectful to them, like, oh, you know, you shouldn't be putting money towards the game, and be quite frustrated with the fact that they are trying to get there by a free-to-play kind of grind. But at the same time, it's a very difficult judgment and difficult kind of opinion to have. Whether you spend money on the game or not, that is your choice. You shouldn't be either victimized against it or anything like that, or you shouldn't be arrogant as well with regards to the fact that you can spend money in the game. That's another thing as well. But the fact is, it does give them something to spend on regardless. Now at this point, I think I'm just fishing for a lot of pros, so the next thing that comes is a lot of cons. So we add on to the next con, which is the release pool for 6 stars will be likely bad, and they will be. They more than likely will be, because it happened with the 5 stars, and it is likely to continue. We're going to see champions that people would not touch with a barge pole, and would prefer to have something a little bit more useful. And it's like at this point that Kabam should really kind of go, right, we'll add in certain champions from, you know, we'll put in Scarlet Witch, we'll put in Captain America World War II, we'll put in useful champions for people to have. That would be something that would be quite nice, but I doubt they will. And we'll probably see like Iron Patriot, we'll see Joe Fixit, all the champions that I think, with regards to statistics and with regards to being used, I suspect are used a lot less. And I bet Kabam can see that level of analytical data where they go, right, well, obviously this champion is not being used quite so much within the game, so therefore we are going to put them in first. So then that means that people will play them, and it seems like a genius idea. But the same thing happens with regards to what star they are. People won't play champions that either, number one, they don't get on with, number two, they don't particularly like with regards to the striking patterns, and number three, they don't like because their specials don't seem to really kind of cut the mustard, or they have a big negative factor which makes them, well, not very playable. Next one is the whales will be further ahead, and again we have a kind of one thing that should be in the middle with this, but I've put it on one side and another because people will feel differently, and that's people's opinions do vary on this. And whales will be further ahead. Yes, if they spend on the game, it will kind of catapult people that spend a lot of money on the game further than the people that are free to play, and can, as I said, be treated as a negative and a positive at the same time. But it is an opinion of the community, but at the same time it's a judgment call. Either way, either side becomes a victim. If you're arrogant about the fact that you can spend money on the game, then you're just a trash person. And likewise the other thing, if you victimize the people that spend money on the game, then it's not, again, they shouldn't be victimized because they can. It just is what it is. You can say it in a positive way and go, hey, people are spending money, that's great because it's helping out the developers, and other people will say, no, shouldn't give the developers too much money because they're bastards and they don't listen to a thing we say. So again, it's a judgment call on how people want to kind of perceive the people that spend money. But at the same token, these kind of divide between the people that don't and the people that do does increase with regards to the way that people are able to get on with the game. And our final con is AQ and AW, bad prep as to addressing implications. So the implications of putting in these 6 stars, Kabam have not been very specific. Now we are 4 months towards the next time that we talk about 6 stars again, because that's the point that we put in the game. It's as of 2018. I think it's of the very kind of start of 2018. So it's just getting an idea of like preparation. Like, a 6 stars going to be easy to get, and if they're easy to get, what is well, they're not going to be easy to get, but with regards to hoarding now for 5 stars and kind of get how many people can get 5 stars. Will the top alliances get 6 stars first? And if they do, how does that shape alliance wars? Because not everybody will be on the same pegging. It will then start a You know, if you've got one alliance that's a top end alliance and they're not going to be able to get their 6 stars until like a certain point, then they're going to lose a lot of alliance wars. But at the same token, will they be signatured high enough as well as will they be of a higher kind of ilk to be prominent in a war? But likewise with regards to alliance questing, like will they introduce something new for alliance questing? Will they change and alter alliance quests to be a little bit more difficult, say at map 6, which then would change a lot of things with regards to the availability of tier 4 class catalysts if you're then tiered in a certain way? There's a lot of things that we still don't know yet, and with regards to preparation, again, communication has been better, but it's not been as good to give us a real idea of things to come. So that has been a video on pros and cons. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button and remember to subscribe for more Marvel Contest of Champions. To explain this to the people that have just started off with the game is really for us at the end game, kind of understanding where you guys are starting off with and where we are now. This kind of progression that you're on is an important one, but at the same time we need to understand what these 6 stars mean for the implications as well as the further development. So if you're new to the game, don't feel so scared that things are going to be absolutely terrible, but at the same time it's just understanding that you need patience, but you also need to grind out the game extensively in order to really make a big dent in your Marvel Contest of Champions career. And hopefully in future for you endgame people as well, that we can get some real clarity in the future. But this really kind of shows you the extent of what people are feeling within the community as it stands. And obviously if you don't agree with the list, then that's fine. Put a suggestion in the comment section below of maybe things that you find positive and maybe negative about the new implementation of these 6 stars coming in the new year. So I've been RichTheMan. Remember to follow me on social media. The link is in the description below. And remember that I shall catch you on the flip side. And hopefully there is a flip side. There must be.